Okay, today we're going to work on comparing decimals. So, a lot of this comparing decimals ideas and strategies and basically how to comes from you doing this with whole numbers. So if ever you are getting stuck on comparing decimal values, I want you to think back to September when we did this with whole numbers. It is the same thing. So if you want to, you can kind of pretend like that decimal doesn't exist and just pretend like you're comparing two whole numbers, especially since we only have decimal values here and no whole numbers. Okay, now here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your two decimal values. We're going to be using these comparison symbols here, greater than, less than, or equal to. So our goal is to be able to compare these two, say which one is greater than, which one is less than, or if they are equal. First thing you are going to do is you are going to rewrite these decimals and you are going to line up or align the decimal point in all of the place value holders in those decimals. So before you even write any values, I want you to make sure those decimals are lined up. And then I'm going to start by writing this decimal first on top. It doesn't matter the order that you do. 57,327 tenths. Let me count this out loud. Tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And we're going to be comparing that with 57,829 tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Okay. Now, once you've done that, and I've also noticed that there are some fifth graders that really like to, let me put my line tool on. Some fifth graders, to stay organized doing this, they even like to put lines down to make sure that when they are comparing tenths to tenths, hundreds to hundreds, thousands to thousands, they're comparing the right numbers. If you do not line these up correctly, it's going to be really hard to use this strategy to compare. Okay, now we're going to start with our greatest place value holder, which is right here, our tenths, and we're going to compare them. If they are the same, here's what I do. I draw a line through them, and what that means is that we cannot use the tenths, to compare. Okay, so the tenths are the same. We can't make our choice yet. The hundredths are the same. We can't make our choice yet. But now, oh, do you see this? Now we're comparing 3 and 8. Which one of those values is greater, 3 or 8? And it is 8. So right away, I like to circle the greater value. And then when I go to compare, I know that my alligator, my hungry alligator, is going to eat that value. Okay, we'll do one more. Now, this one's a little bit different because you can see we have whole numbers here. So we're going to do the same strategy where we're going to line these up, and I'm going to just draw my decimals first. Please do that even when you do addition and subtraction. Line up your decimals, and then if you line up your decimals, it is going to be easier to line up all these other values. I'm going to put this one on top. It doesn't matter the order. 2 and 94 tenths hundredths, and we're comparing that with 2 and, let's see, 94,132 hundred thousandths. Okay, so 94,132. Okay, now do you notice here how these don't really line up? What you're going to do when you have any empty spaces, whenever this happens, you're going to fill those place value holders in with zeros. Okay? So I did that. And the reason why you do that is because sometimes it helps us recognize if we're off of our alignment and we're going to mess up on this because we don't have them lined up correctly, or it helps us see right away which one is greater. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that if you have more values that your decimal place is greater. In this case, it does. But I'll show you one more example where that is not true. So now we're going to start comparing. Now, instead of the tenths, our whole number is the biggest. Can't compare there. We can't compare 9 tenths because they're the same. We can't compare 4 hundredths because they're the same. But ooh, right here, do you see how we have thousandths and our tenths, hundredths, thousands? We have 1,000th and 0,000ths. One is greater than 0. So now I'm going to box in or circle that number. And that's what number my alligator is going to eat. Now, let me give you one more example. I'm going to draw this one in. So let's say that we have 57 and 3, not 3, 32,147 hundred thousandths. And we're going to be comparing that to, not subtract, comparing that to 57 and 8 tenths. Okay. Now, just because we have more decimal values here does not mean that number is greater. Once we line these up, 57 and 8 tenths. I'm going to do this one kind of quick because I'm going to run out of time recording. 57 and 32,147 hundred thousands. Watch this. Tens are the same, ones are the same, and right when we get to the tenths, can you see that 8 is greater than 3? So this is our bigger value. That's it.